Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to a discussion video. And I haven't discussed it about something like this in quite some time. So, we're gonna go back on the horse again. It's gonna be a long saddle up, so you might want to gear up for this trip, because I'm gonna go on a major rant tour. Now, before I go on to this major rant tour, let me just go ahead and just say right now that everyone has their difference of opinion. Obviously, everyone has their different opinions. You get to choose how you want to live your life. You get to choose how you want to use your money. You get to live however way you want to, all that stuff. Your opinions are your own. I do, however, feel as if some things need to be pointed out because of how stupid society has gotten. You ready for this, guys? We have just escalated to 8K television. 8K, which is double what we have currently as of now. Okay? So when I first heard this news, I immediately was face palming with a frying pan. Like, I took the frying pan and just bashed my freaking face on it. And I was like, why? Why would you develop a tech that currently, as of right now, the previous development is just now getting the stir. Now, when I mean getting the stir, I mean it is just now blooming. You planted the seed a little bit of a year ago, and it is just now being recognized as a thing that everyone can potentially get. Can anyone afford it? Not in one go. This is a matter of time processing before you can get it. And I say this because what's funny is that I was reading about this and everything like that, and it seems like the majority of the article that was writing about the 8K resolution was basically on my side of the coin. Like, the majority of my side being that of, what's the point in having higher quality now? You know, it's like we've reached to a point where quality television is at its peak. Going any over is major overkill. And this 8K resolution bullcrap is just another level of bullshit that we shouldn't have to reach. There's no point now. So, basically, 4K resolution is just now getting stirred up. And now, all of a sudden, we get 8K resolution that serves no purpose at all in the entertainment industry. No purpose at all. Why do we need an 8K television? What purpose do we have? Is there even a reason why? And a bunch of people have other questions like, does this mean 4K resolution TV is obsolete? Does this mean I have to fork over my entire wallet? Does this mean... There are so many stupid things about this stupid shit that doesn't make sense, and people aren't using their heads. So I figure I put together a video to let you guys know on the download as to why you should avoid 8K television, much less 4K television. And if you're one of those people like Hamas here, fuck yeah! then this video is for you. Now, chances are you're gonna hate me for this one. You're gonna hate me. You're gonna dislike this video. This video is gonna have the most dislike. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. You're welcome to unsubscribe me because of this one. But you know what? I feel like I have to say something because of how mundanely stupid 8K television is. I've thought about this for a couple of days and I was like, you know what? I need to put a video together. So, first and foremost, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. 4K television. Okay? 4K television. Just started as of, like, last year. A little over a year, actually, because E3 of last year, that's all people talked about was 4K resolution. 4K. And it is, if you want proof of this, go check out Delamar's video on 2017 of E3. It's pretty pathetic. In fact, out of everything that was going on during that time, that's all we heard was 4K. And it's like, okay, well, what is it? And the funny thing is that at the time that 4K resolution was out, there was no way to show 4K, or much less demonstrate 4K. After a year, I can safely say there is no major difference within a 4K resolution versus 1080p. There is no major difference. If you want to argue with me, grab two of those TVs, the standard and the 4K. Grab them, bring them to me, and we'll look at the comparison. Why? Because you can't prove it. You can't prove it to me at all. And I stand by that statement. You can't prove it. There is no major difference. And it's for that reason alone that I feel like you're wasting your money on just putting into 4K resolution. It just, as of right now, quality in picture should not be our concern. Our quality in profession should be quality in performance. That should be the most important thing. It isn't picture that we should worry about, it's the quality in performance. Improving the performance of the product itself is the most important thing. But we have not gotten the brain power to process quality of performance is necessary. I feel like as if I have repeated this a number of times. But it seems like it hasn't drilled into enough people's heads. So it's like, alright, I'm gonna drill it even deeper this time. So, with that being said, we also have something else that needs to be considered. We're just now diving into 4K. Now, there isn't enough shows, there's not enough movies putting out for 4K resolution. This is sort of like the mishap that happened back when 3D television was starting to kick back into a big thing. I'm sure some of you saw this, where there was like a number of TVs that had the potential to put in 3D effect. And then you had some DVDs that had 3D special features and stuff like that. And it's like, this is a stupid gimmick that companies and people are putting too much money in, and it's going to be forgotten. Shortly afterwards, no one even remembered it even existed. It completely dropped off of the map just like it was nothing. It's like it was big for a short time, and then the next thing you know, everyone was like moving on to something else. 3D was nothing more than just a gimmick. And it's proof of that alone that tells you that we reached a point of pinnacle top that we can't go any further. But then these companies believed, oh, well, let's raise the higher quality pixel ratio that we can't clearly see. In fact, what's funny is that I had a friend of mine that was telling me that technically in terms of quality in picture that we could physically see with our eyes, is mostly 2000 ratio. 2000. So in other words, 2K. And it's like, okay. So in other words, we go from like 1080 to 2000 or 2K, however way you want to put it. So it's like, okay. That's something. 4K was a pointless assumption, thinking that, oh, well, why stop at 2K when we can go to 4K? But meanwhile, it's like, why even bother going to 4K to begin with? And what's even weirder is that for a short time, a lot of people were confused as to the difference between 4K and 1080, because technically it could not be shown. There was no technology, there was no invention, there was no way of broadcasting 4K in any known household. So by advertising 4K, you're not showing anything. It's only going to look the same. And so, by that definition alone, there was no physical proof that you could do 4K. And now, there are even programs that have the support system for 4K. Elgato, a few months ago, received an update saying that now you can stream at 4K. We have players, DVD Blu-ray players, that can play up to 4K resolution. While that's interesting to know, there's one other key feature that needs to be informed. That information alone is what prevents people from realizing the truth that we are not prepared for 4K, and we will never reach 4K, and we will never, in 100 years' time, we will never be able to process 8K resolution. What is that? Streaming. If you don't know what streaming is, allow me to elaborate for you. It's a constant flow of technological information, where it's downloading and uploading at a continuous stream. So imagine, if you will, when you hear the term streaming, you're streaming movies, you're streaming games and stuff like that, what's it doing? It's giving you an image of what you're seeing at a constant ratio. So imagine like a continuous stream of images being played as a movie would play. It's downloading and uploading images continuously at a fast, alarming rate through digital online connection. Okay? Now, despite what some people might think, this doesn't seem that complicated, but it can be. So let's say, for example, you go back to the time machine 10 years ago. The ratio in which something like that was even possible was at a very, very small decline. You could not get anywhere past 480p, because after a while the video would have to stop and render or de-render. Rendering is basically a process in which where the video renderizes in the highest quality it can possibly put out, based on your internet speed. If you have a fast enough internet speed, you can watch it in the highest quality possible, which currently, as of right now, we are watching it in 1080. In fact, I think this video alone is at 1080, if not 720. Or 780, I forget. But the point is, it's not the highest that is available. But in terms of standardized, 1080 is the standard HD quality out there. YouTube has it, Twitch has it, everyone can do streaming up to 1080p. You couldn't do that 10 years ago, but 10 years later, as of where we are right now, 1080 is the highest quality that we have in terms of streaming media at a continuous ratio. But to do that, you have to have a fast enough internet connection. And it's not so much download speeds. A lot of people mistake thinking that, oh, the highest download speed means I can watch anything, right? Wrong. It only works if you're downloading something and it stays on your hard drive. There's a difference between downloading and streaming. Big difference. Say you're downloading music. It is downloaded into your device. It is downloaded into your MP3 player. It is downloaded into your phone, your PC, your console. Once it's downloaded into the system, you can listen to it anytime you want to. You don't even have to have the internet connected. You can listen to it right off the back. But when you're streaming something, you have to be connected to the internet at all times. Constantly connected, regardless of the situation. So in other words, the internet has little peaks, and these little peaks tend to drop from time to time. Well, imagine getting to a point to where you drop, just like that. That affects the streaming drastically. When that drop hits, the system freaks out because it doesn't know how to render it after that drop. So you'll get to that drop point for a quick moment, but the system will have to take a few seconds to render what just happened, and get back on track. Sort of like what would happen if, like say for example, you're watching a projector movie. Say for example, the projector movie all of a sudden skipped a beat. That film would stay there for just a brief second and then continue on. And you'll think to yourself, that's weird, but that's because that is a rendering feature followed by a skip. And this can happen. Not everything is perfect. We do have these slip-ups of where eventually it will just goof up and then the system freaks out for a moment. Now imagine, if you will, that constant flow of connection goes dead. Your system freezes. It doesn't know what happened, doesn't know where the connection's at, and you can't watch it anymore. This will happen. It can, will, and has happened to everyone, regardless of who you are. Sometimes the internet will drop at a beat of a hat, and then pick back up, and the system has to stop for a moment just to render what's going on. Now let's say, for example, the internet connection goes to a low end and just stays constantly at that low end. That video has to stop long enough to render, and sometime, depending on the program itself, it has to readjust itself to go at a lower resolution. Which is probably why for some people, when you watch something on YouTube, you go from 1080 and then you drop to 480 out of nowhere. And you wonder what happened. That's what's going on. Your internet connection dropped for a brief moment, and the connection itself had to change render size, and therefore it transformed your picture quality to a lower standard to where you can continue watching that video. Some programs have that auto feature, and because of this, this happens a lot more often than you think. Now imagine in 4K, whenever we could, if we do anyway. To stream at 4K, we would have to have a higher resolution processing of being able to stream video and game media at that constant speed. Okay? You with me? In other words, you have to have an internet connection high enough to even process that at a continuous ratio. In other words, it's not just your download speed, it's your upload speed that has to be high enough as well. For most people, the standard that I have seen is like anywhere between 10 to 15 megabytes per second. That's the basic. And sadly, it is the highest that most places can provide. I can tell you right now, in terms of internet accessibility that I have currently in my state, 11 megabytes per second upload speed is the highest that I've seen. And as far as I know, there is no higher. If there is, it's out of state and probably out into the bigger cities. No doubt about it. In fact, I can probably say right now, if you happen to live in California or in New York, guarantee you yours is probably up to 15 or so in terms of megabyte speed. Probably say I'm probably more right than I should be. And if you're from the UK or Australia or anywhere else, I guarantee you your upload speeds is slightly different, if not maybe higher or lower based on your location. Japan, on the other hand, has way better tech than we will ever reach. Japan has higher processing power and higher internet speeds to where they can process this. That's the weird part, is that they themselves can do 4K easy. Do we have that anywhere else in the world? No. So imagine, if you will, trying to stream a movie, a game, or anything like that, trying to do that constant streaming and watching it at the highest quality of 4K. It can't happen. We do not have the technological ability to do this. Why? Because internet companies are by far the most stupidest people you will ever meet on the face of the planet. they refuse to upgrade to the next stage of evolution when it comes to internet capability. So while yes, you have a 4K television, yes, you have some form of connectivity that allows you to stream at higher qualities, yes, you may be able to watch at 4K at any time, but can your internet speed provide at 4K? Guarantee you, non-stop, it will not start. So unless you lower that quality to 1080, you cannot watch anything at 4K. Guarantee it. When you do it streaming, you can't do it. And the funny thing is, it's even worse when it comes to 8K resolution. The article that I was reading was talking about all of the reasons why you should avoid 8K television. Even though they push it out there on the shelves, you should avoid 8K. In fact, it is recommended that you do. Because number one, it's going to cost you more than anything. And yes, I get it. 4K resolution TV, nowadays you can easily buy it on the shelf for like $500-$600. I get ya. But unless your TV is broken and you want to get a new TV, why would you waste that much anyway? Another thing is that in terms of the 8K screen size, the smallest that they have is 88 inches. Okay? 88. Wow. That's the smallest? That's huge! That's almost theater size. To preferences for you, the standard TV that most people probably have in their homes, let's just say for some standard people, probably 40 inches is the standard. That's 40 inches. Now technically the biggest we have in terms of television as of now, we have up to 70. As you can clearly see, 70 inches is the biggest in terms of TV that we have on physical shelves. So what does 88 look like? I guarantee you cannot even see it. But right now I am poking the very end of my shelf over there, and I am practically leaning on my bed. That's 88 inches. Now I get the fact that obviously if you had the space and you built like a theater room in your basement or something like that, yes, you could fit it there. In your living room? Where are you going to put that thing at? Guarantee you can't, because there's no room. For most people, they probably live in apartments. Where are you going to fit that big thing at? And then finally, because of what I was talking about in terms of streaming, we don't have the capability barely to do 4K. So why should we even get 8K television when we can't even stream at 4K? Like I said, in terms of technology, we have the ability to. In terms of internet speed, we are nowhere close to that shit. In fact, what's funny is that they even estimated how many megabytes per second in terms of upload speeds you would need in order to stream at 8K. 50 megabytes per second. We're barely at like 1/5 of that. 1/5 of where we could possibly even get close to doing at 8K. 4K, I guarantee you, is probably half of that, which is probably anywhere between 25 to even a little bit more than that. We're nowhere close to doing that. We're nowhere close to it. I guarantee if I even had 20 megabytes per second in upload speed, I'd be streaming at high quality resolution all the fucking time. We don't have it. I have looked in every direction I could, and as far as I know, the United States don't have that capability. If you have that capability to do 20 megabytes upload speed, let me know what state you're from. You're probably 10 states away from me. Worst case scenario, you're from another country. I'm only saying this because there's no reason for us to go any higher in terms of picture quality. We need to improve the performance of technology. By improving the performance, we improve everything else. Quality-wise, in terms of picture, we can't. We've reached that point to where we can't go any higher, and any more than that is pointless. Absolutely, shamelessly pointless. I've had over 10 years of exposure to the internet, and I know how the process of this stuff works. I am familiar with this stuff. You know, yes, we've went into the age of where at one point in time we had to spend $100 just to get at least a good 100 gigabytes of external hard drive space to store most of our data. Now we can easily get up to 5 terabytes for almost less than $100. Easily. We've come a long way in terms of technology, but in terms of how the internet can perform, has not changed. And until the internet companies actually improve this and actually change their standards, there will be no improvements for anything else. Anyway, that's all I just wanted to say. This is like a rant. This was kind of like a rant, I admit, and it's been a long time since I've done this type of rant, but to that extent, it still irks me that people still try to push out better picture quality. Ladies and gentlemen, we have went into an age of where we don't have to worry about that type of stuff at all. We can just make it our own art style. If companies can take 16-bit gaming and make them into today's standards, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to improve picture quality anymore. 16-bit is no longer an outdated performance of tech. It is an art form now. People say it's just a cash grab type thing to latch on to nostalgia. I disagree. It is an art form that they chose to do, and people enjoy it. It is a media to where everyone can enjoy it. If there's no reason to push that limitation, then guess what? There's no reason to push it at all. Why push picture quality when quality and performance of your gameplay, performance in your movie, performance in media, performance in programming is the most necessary? Stop improving quality of picture. Improve the quality of performance. That is what is necessary as of now. I probably ranted more than I should, and I do apologize for this. So in other words, this is where the part of the video where I allow you guys to post in your comments. How do you feel about all this? Do you feel like as though as if we as a people, a race, society, a group of people, a fan of a genre, of any form of mighty, are we prepared for 8K? And if so, prove your points. I like to hear them, because personally from what I've seen, we're nowhere close to it. But if you have proof that there might be a possibility that we can do 8K and even more, I like to hear this. But anyway though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you later, guys.